Hello, everybody. It is February 5th. I almost said January 5th, and we're doing business and security, I think. He just told me, and I forgot. This is going to be probably a little bit of a short one, so maybe we goof off a little more.
It's a short month, too.
It is. The chocolate counter is ticking down.
Oh, February is a short month. That has no impact on this.
No, not at all. It just the way it worked out, the way the story is balanced.
But it's interesting that because we have been, the last 2 weeks has been AI focused completely in the news cycle, and everybody's talking about AI, and the big boys who were maybe the stars got a little bit of a punch in the nose there. You know who sucked at AI? Apple. Did it ruin them? Perhaps not.
Apple reports its best quarter ever in this quarter, this last quarter that was good. 36.3 billion in profits on 124.3 billion in revenue. And most of that has been iPhone.
Oh, that so surprises me that people are still like spending a lot on phones.
But also, we've been hearing headline after headline of China rejecting the iPhone.
Yeah.
So somebody else is picking up the slack there.
That almost makes me think we're going to hear bad news from the Google team in terms of, oh no.
Well, perhaps there's some sign that things may not be going that great over at the Google, especially in the hardware division.
Google offering voluntary exit for employees working on Pixel and Android. Now, this is not because the iPhone is doing so much better and continues to take Android market share, although that is not untrue. This is because there was a merger. Remember the Pixel team and in the Android team, like the devices team and the software team were merged together. And so this is a memo that basically said, hey, if you're not feeling super amazing, voluntary exit.
They didn't give the terms, but obviously they're going to give you some kind of severance package. And you can enter the job market, which is just on fire for tech workers right now.
Like I don't really care for the like Apple philosophy and flavor of how they do things, even given my problems with Apple as a company. But it continues to astonish me that apparently no one with a clue is working like an Android phone. Let's build a phone that's a good phone, and like the software works really well. And it's like, well, what's our angle on that? We really need to like mine data and give users extra steps so we can see what their preferences are. And it's like, well, as long as you continue to do that, people are going to continue to defect to iPhones. So good luck with that strategy.
And iPhone's just got it built in, right? Because like that's been their business model all along, and people are used to it. And Oracle, maybe they're going to get TikTok. And will that save them? It might have to, because it doesn't seem like they're doing very well with what the assets that they're currently managing.
The Register's headline is only 1 in 10 Oracle Java users want to stay with Big Red. The fallout continues from per employee licensing shift in 2023 survey finds. They've gone full Broadcom. You never go full Broadcom.
That's what everybody's doing. Everything's becoming a subscription, and people, thank God, at this point, are fighting against it. Please stay strong.
They're like, wow, this is actually really expensive when everything turns into a subscription.
Oh, God, these spam calls. Spam calls.
I wish mine were spam calls.
For like 3-4 weeks, I had almost none, and then all of a sudden it kicked back in. It must have been a fresh data leak, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a new list. Now, if you'll think back, last year, there was a big outcry because everybody was loving Helldivers, and Sony was like, ooh, we made something that people like. Let's ruin it. And they added a requirement for you to register a PlayStation account in order to be able to play it on PC. And people really didn't like it, and they kind of half-stepped backwards. That was clearly not enough.
Sony removes the PlayStation account requirement from 4 single-player Steam games, including the remastered Horizon Zero Dawn game, which the Horizon Zero Dawn really wasn't that old. It was just popular, and people liked it. And then Sony was like, let's remaster it. It's like, yeah, the remaster was not really amazingly better than the original.
Spider-Man, God of War, and The Last of Us Part 2. Hopefully they will not try to do all of that again. And here's a headline that literally no one was surprised by. Do we even need to say this?
GeForce RTX 5090 and 5080 sold out almost instantly.
We just need to think it toward the audience, like, mind control them.
They already knew. Everybody, before it happened, everybody knew.
There were almost 0 5090s nationwide, very small number. But there were a decent, no, there wasn't really even a decent number of 5080s. There was like an okay number of 50. Our local Micro Center only had 80 5080s and 4 5090s total. There were over 250 people in line even before they opened.
Says a lot about the consumer as well. And the tariffs, it seems like they're on the table, they're off the table. It's going to be different percentages. Nobody knows. It changes from day to day. But this one is one of the big ones that will impact probably a lot of you.
Trump to impose a 25 to 100% tariff on Taiwanese-made chips impacting TSMC. At the time we're shooting this is not final. They may have just, as we're shooting this, gotten a stay of execution until March 1.
Well, it's Canada and Mexico.
Oh, okay. I thought, well...
This one's not, I don't think this one's that far along yet.
Man, this would be dumb. This would be really dumb. It's
Not great.
It's like, great. You know who really needs that new H100 cluster? Mexico.
Well, you know who needs some of that business? Intel. And they don't have it. And perhaps now we have a little bit of an indication as to why they don't have it.
TSMC founder says Tim Cook told him in 2011 that Intel did not know how to be a foundry. So Morris Chang, I think, relayed a conversation that he and Tim Cook were having as Tim Cook was shopping around for foundries. And Morris was like, I don't understand why you don't just have Intel do this. And he's like, oh, Mo, let me tell you, this is just like the most messed up thing ever. And he relayed a story about how Intel just did not have any clue how to woo him as a customer in terms of, yes, we can build this thing that you're asking for. It's like, we have these two products that are vaguely similar to what you're asking for. Can you use one of those? And it's like, I'm Tim Cook. We're on our way to be a $1 trillion company. You're gonna have to, and Samsung was interested in doing that, and TSMC, of course, was interested in doing that, but Intel had no clue. Which is, like, you should probably, if you're a shareholder at Intel and you just fired Pat Gelsinger, look around at the board. And it's like, wait a minute, all these people were still here when this happened. Maybe we should have fired those guys instead of Pat Gelsinger. Sorry, I digress.
And Intel is they're trying to push the Surface with the ARM chips, but they're going to give you an option. However, it's not going to be a great option.
Wait, Intel and your Surface, that'll be $400 extra, says Microsoft, according to the register. Now, this is
I just
amazing.
want to give them more money.
The other thing that's amazing here is, remember when the Snapdragon Surfaces launched, Microsoft said, this is a premium experience. You're going to pay extra for this. And it turns out that there's a lot that is wrong with Snapdragon-based Surfaces, not the least of which is the insanely bad video driver support if you want to do anything other than run Windows. And now Microsoft's like, ooh, look, they're $400 cheaper, which is, probably what they should have been to begin with.
Now, this is a feel-good headline.
Yeah.
But you got to think about this. You got to read the details and remember that this would have literally been illegal under net neutrality because they got this cool new stuff, but only certain companies are going to get the benefit from it. The consumer gets a benefit, but only in specific ways.
Comcast is rolling out ultra-low lag tech that could help fix the internet, and they intend to gatekeep that technology for paying customers instead of just fixing their network to begin with.
And it's not going to roll out to everything. In the beginning, it's going to be FaceTime, Steam, some Steam games, and they mentioned some other big companies, maybe Netflix. I guess Netflix doesn't need latency. GeForce Now, FaceTime, Meta's mixed reality headsets for the three of you that have them. Apple, Nvidia, and Valve all collaborated. So yeah, this is certain companies' traffic is going to get low latency.
Prioritized, you mean?
Yeah.
I always love these stories because it's like the local water company has saved you a tremendous amount of money by deploying lead-based pipes, which cost only 1/10 of their contemporary counterparts. And then a month later, they're like, the local water company has rolled out a solution for the lead poisoning in the water. And it's like, wait a minute. What? You created this problem to begin with.
I'm sure it'll be huge for the Counter-Strike scene. And if you are a smartwatch user, bad news because they will push updates without your options, notices, whatever, and sometimes bad things happen.
Garmin users say their watches are bricked with a blue triangle of death. Fortunately, I've managed to dodge that.
As a UX person, why a blue triangle? Why would you not use red, which is the universal sign of like something is wrong?
Because then your users might feel sad.
That's just their reboot symbol. So this is what happens when it gets stuck on boot up.
Apparently it has to do with the GPS, and they say just don't use GPS-related features, but isn't that always on?
It's you can turn it off.
That's a big draw for their customers too. Like people I know who use it, it's like hikers and stuff, where it's like I want the GPS to track how far I've hiked.
I actually had to jump through a lot of hoops with my watch to get it to not. There's a lot of hidden apps in the app, and then I also had to go the Android permissions way and give it a bunch of fake stuff because it was very
Aggressive.
aggressive. Yeah.
It's a tracking device. And so are these in some ways, but it's worse than that because now when you buy a connected device, not only can they push updates that might break it, but they can push updates that can break your wallet.
Bassinet backlash reflects debate over adding fees to connected devices. So this was a Bassinet that had certain features when you bought it. It was a 3-month trial or something like that.
No, in the beginning, I think it was just free.
Well, they decided to make some of the free stuff considerably less free.
And resale, which you think about baby products, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to resell them unless you're just a human rabbit. And when you resell it, none of that stuff goes along with it. So whoever buys it next has to face this, like sign up your own account. Oh, but now that's a subscription.
Maybe a internet connected Bassinet was never a good idea.
A terrible idea, but not nearly as bad as this one, which
makes
was
me furious.
one of the worst ideas that has ever come into an industry. Anybody who signed off on this should be fired and blacklisted from the industry entirely.
Walgreens smart freezer doors were a $200 million misstep, according to TechSpot. Like you, I think that it was $200 million. Like this is
a solution in search of a problem.
Yeah.
Not even a solution.
Yeah,
it didn't work correctly.
It makes
ever.
it worse.
Even if it works correctly, it's worse. And it did not work correctly. Now, Walgreens is saying they didn't do their part. These were buggy. They were crappy. The company is saying they didn't pay the bill. And when they didn't pay the bill, like I think in Chicago is what it was, they just blanked them all. So you walked into a Walgreens in Chicago, you were met with all blank freezer doors. You'd have to go and open each one and let out the cold air.
Which was the whole reason that they installed them, because they're like, oh, then customers don't have to open the door. But I'm like, you know how that you solved that? Glass.
Which, whoever had opaque freezer doors ever? They were all clear.
Yeah. Who asked for this?
I guess maybe these could have a bit more insulation, so you might have some savings there. But clearly it didn't work. And
the net cost of having to run the screen is probably upping your electricity bill. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It was advertising. The answer was advertising.
Yeah, it was going to be ads.
And it's been a while, but a new year requires a new speculative execution attack.
Apple chips can be hacked to leak secrets from Gmail, iCloud, and more.
So they got 2 new ways to do it. Both of them, it's Slap and Flop, great names. Both of them attacking memory, I believe.
And that lets them extract the keys.
And so they purposely point it to the wrong area of memory in order to get that, and then they're able to pull out. They point out that if you're running 2 tabs in a browser, one tab is an infected site, one tab is your Gmail, for example, they should be able to get that. You got to go back to one tab browsing for security. And here's another story that is literally copy and paste, just change the brand name.
More of the same. Software Flaw exposes millions of Subarus, rivers of driver data. Subaru, I think, is largely at fault here because all of this data was available to basically every contractor and employee.
Look at those. Those are Subarus.
Oh.
Real time. So, yeah. They had one of those employee portals that didn't authenticate. All you had to do was put in an employee email address. This dude just went to LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
Found a phone number for him, popped it in there, and he was given full access. His mom had a Subaru, so he tested it on hers. He was able to start it up, get the full location history, and do other things inside the car.
Neat.
Not neat. Really bad, actually.
And this is also really bad. You already knew that. Everybody already knew that. But we didn't know how bad it was because it just keeps getting worse.
UnitedHealthcare confirms 190 million Americans affected by Change Healthcare data breach. This is a follow-up to last week where they still hadn't disclosed all the information on that last week, and now they've disclosed more this week.
A reminder
Good Lord.
that after someone got UnitedHealthcare, they immediately updated all of their staff and like CEO pages to make sure that like contact information and photos and stuff weren't there. When they care about leaks, they care. They will fix it quickly. They don't care about this.
Well,
not
this
really.
wasn't even fixing it. This was just being honest about how the scope of it.
Their information matters. Ours does not.
That is correct.
And we just heard about who was deploying the advertising SDKs last week doing this? It was another company.
It was one of those world location that provides libraries for things.
Oh, no, it was insurance. It was Allstate.
Oh, yeah.
Allstate. So Allstate was going to app developers, convincing them to put in their ad or tracking or whatever. And then if you got like Gas Buddy, I remember was one of the apps. Allstate was tracking that. They were connecting that back to your insurance account and using it to change your rates. Well, that strategy, it turns out, is everybody's doing that.
The lawsuit accuses Amazon of secretly tracking consumers through cell phones. Purchases, location data,
Things you've looked up.
anything they can get. And then also selling that to third parties. Not just tracking it themselves, selling it.
So they have the Amazon Ad SDK, which if you put that in your app, you can run ads and Amazon will pay you. And they are also pulling all of that information through that, tracking you. And if you are in a part of the world that can't get to certain content, let's say that there's perhaps, I don't know, a hub that you enjoyed attending and you can no longer get to that hub, NordVPN says they have an answer.
NordVPN says its new protocol can circumvent VPN blockers, such as exist behind the Great Firewall of China, and now also in Russia.
Perhaps parts of the U.S.
Now, they're a little hesitant here. They're like, it might not always work, but it simulates regular traffic. I imagine it's using fake packets and mixing yours in there, and it knows the difference on the other end. So supposedly your ISP can't tell what you're doing. And this one, we've known this one for a while, but whatever. This was a really slow week for this section, so I threw it in.
The Boing Boing article is the NSA can track your powered down phones, how to actually protect your privacy. There's a whole article about using a Faraday bag, which there's a picture of Mr. Faraday himself, but it turns out if you have a foil bag, you can put something in a foil bag, and then that gums up the ability to do radio. The important takeaway here from this article is, as we have said repeatedly in the past, your phone still emits radio even when it's off. If you have an iPhone, like the Find My stuff, all of that works even when your battery is stone dead. There's enough juice left in the battery that you can still do the Find My. A Faraday bag will block those signals. That is your only option.
Probably also kill your battery because it's going to try harder and harder to get to those towers when it can't find them.
But I guess you put it on airplane mode and then put it in the bag.
Airplane mode, they point out, well, yeah, you could do that, but airplane mode itself does nothing in terms of tracking.
Mm.
It's just a placebo for you.
I do notice that when I put it on airplane mode, my battery doesn't go down as quick, but I don't know. It probably doesn't actually help that much.
And it's one of the themes of 2025 is back to the office, right? And when you go back to the office, maybe things are broken, they don't work, there's not enough parking, but also you might have a new friend in your office.
Logitech's peel and stick radar sensors could let companies invisibly monitor their offices. So these are presence sensors, but they also have CO2 monitors and volatile organic compound monitors and some other things like that. They've got a battery in them that lasts 4 years, and so they're designed so that you just peel it and stick it and get it enrolled on the network, and then just periodically it reports things. It's not like an audio bug, but it does report how many people are in a room because it has a millimeter wave sensor, and it also detects the CO2 and some other things.
Is this another solution in search of a problem? Because I know that managers will be at the office every day, so they will be able to see all their people on site that they've requested to come back.
So they're selling it as, like this kind of situation where you got these little meeting rooms and you need to know what's available and what's not. But yeah, I think it'll be more what you're talking about.
Yeah. Fun times.
And finally, another story that is literally just a copy and paste. We've seen this so many
But
times.
this is the lawsuit we reported on. It is proceeding, and they've presented some evidence.
And I think they have plenty of evidence.
The Guardian reports that WhatsApp says journalists and civil society members were targets of the Israeli spyware that we're always reporting on. So the messaging app said it had high confidence some users were targeted and possibly compromised by Paragon Solutions spyware. So this is the lawsuit that was initially not permitted to proceed that has now since been permitted to proceed. WhatsApp's presenting some pretty compelling evidence here that this software is not used by the good guys in all scenarios.
Now, they won't give out any details about the people, which is probably a good idea. If you're being targeted by this, you probably need some secrecy. But they did say that it was journalists and people in government. So
But we can't report on what's
targeted.
actually happening because that would freak people out. Or people think that would freak people out. And so that must be verboten.
I think they think that it would expose their criminality.
Yeah. Fun times.
That's it. That's the last story. It was actually a very short section. We're sorry. But don't worry, the AI section is coming up. So,
It was pretty short.
yeah, AI should be pretty long.
We are planning to go a little longer when there's more stories. There just hasn't been a lot of stories.
That's okay, though.
Go out and create some news.
Yeah.
Or
Give us something to report on.
I don't know. It's weird. I haven't heard about that guy that got United. That was the instrument of United Healthcare. We need to go check on that.
We're never going to hear from him again. Well, I guess they'll go to
He's
trial.
in jail, I think. I mean,
think
well,
he-
obviously, but like,
You think they'll offer him a plea?
I think the last thing that I heard was that they won't let anybody add more money to his commissary account because it's maxed out the system.
yeah.
He's
I saw an
drowning
interview
in
with
ramen.
like one of the other people who like was in the jail with him the other day. But yeah, I don't think we've heard anything from him recently. All right. Anyway,
What interesting times we live in.
bye.